How's your life been changed by diabetes? Well, it hasn't been changed at all, and it's been changed in every moment of every day. Being a diabetic doesn't change who you are. You have the same passions, the same drives, the same hopes, failures and dreams. What it impacts is how you achieve those, because you know if you don't take care of it, your horizon for doing the things that you want to do, the things that make life worth living, is going to be severely cut. So every day, from when you get up to when you go to bed at night, you have to take it into consideration, the routine, remembering, because it's an investment in getting to do what you really want to do. Well, diabetes does get noticed when one of those obituaries in Time, one of those famous people who's left us, probably in their 60s, has that small telling footnote, died from complications from diabetes. These are big names too. Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead, Syd Barrett of Pink Floyd, and of course Johnny Cash, who died a horrible, lonely death from complications from diabetes. For a brief moment, that phrase, died from complications of diabetes, is in the public consciousness, and then all too soon it fades away. And like diabetes, is forgotten. The public doesn't understand diabetes. I was camping not long ago in Lassam Park, listening to a young man on the site next to me explain to his friends that diabetes was type 2 when you were too fat and type 1 when you needed to take an injection every day. The simple fact is that diabetes is different person to person. It is a completely and utterly unique condition. It's the complications are such that nobody really wants to get involved. Each and every individual has their own set of problems. There is no one simple solution. It's a personal matter. That's what you have to live with. Is diabetes going to kill me? Yes, of course it is. It kills pretty much everybody it touches. The thing that's variable is how long it takes. If you ignore it, you can expect in 2 cases out of 3, within 10 years you'll be subject to the kind of complications that do kill. That will be a heart attack, kidney failure, or a stroke. What you have to do is to invest your time and effort in delaying that outcome. I looked at a website to see how long the actuarials thought I would live in my condition. It told me 67 years. I'm nearly 57 now. That's just a decade. That's a very sobering thought. Diabetes doesn't get the attention in the mass media. It doesn't have people walking for miles in the same way as AIDS and breast cancer do. If you think back, AIDS was a very exotic and mysterious ailment that seized the attention of the public, and naturally there was a large response to it. The simple fact of the matter is that diabetes is very boring and, in a sense, very sordid and dreadfully hopeless to deal with. That's why I think that people aren't as willing to get up and cycle 50 miles for something that, quite frankly, they don't think they can do a thing about. But not only is it an individual condition, ironically, it's a group condition because it affects everybody around you. You think of the teenage girl who acquires type 1 diabetes and wants nothing more than to go out with her friends in the morning to have a stack of pancakes and maple syrup. She can't do that anymore. You know what makes it worse? That poor girl, in 20% of cases, has probably got celiac as well, which means all those sensible diet choices she's told to stick to, all the whole wheat bread, is all off the table because it's all got gluten, and these type 1 diabetics can't digest gluten. It's as if all the odds are stacked against them, and you wonder why the girls get despondent and hopeless, and it spreads out through the family because despite all the good advice, there's really nothing they can do to make things right again. One of the first things I was ever asked when I went to my first diabetic clinic session was, what are you going to do when you get complications? And my answer was, I'm not going to have any complications. Of course, at the time I didn't really know what complications were. Now I do. Complications are things that will destroy your quality of life. You can lose a limb because diabetes will destroy the nerves, just like leprosy. And infections arrive, and the tissue dies, and the bones, and the gangrene spreads through until the limb is removed, and then it keeps going. From your toes to your knees, and from your fingertips to your elbows. And that is a ghastly way of dying. Yes, there probably are 30 varieties of insulin. The thing is that there is no generic for insulin, which means that you pay the drug company's price for them. So that selection of drugs that are provided from the drug companies is actually whittled down to a very poor selection indeed by the insurance companies. When you talk about the service provided to diabetics from the drug companies, you have to include the insurance companies. And in turn, you have to include the way that medical health is provided to the people of America. I've spent decades getting to know the outdoors, not only in the United States, but in fact all over the world. South America, Asia, Europe. There's nothing more important to me than be able to marvel at what nature has presented. If my sight fails, all of that is taken away from me. And nothing is more terrifying. And to have an incurable ailment, where that is the one of the most likely outcomes, is probably the scariest thing I've faced in my life.